For the life of me, I've been wondering what I'm doing at a financial conference interviewing
Me too.
Shaquille O'Neal.
I haven't been up at 8:30 in about 30 years.
So it begs
What's
the
your
question.
name, little man? I may sound drunk, but I don't drink. It's just that I don't usually get up this early.
He's starting early. You know, before we got in here, we were talking on the sidelines about how the two of you met. 7 years ago, you wouldn't tell me the story, so maybe you'll tell us now. You called him up.
I was walking down Sunset Boulevard, and I kept seeing Elvis all over the place. And I'm like, shit, this dude's been dead for 100 years. How's he still making money? So I looked and saw how that business worked, and I came up with two of the top companies, one who's no longer in business, Sequential Brands, and I met with Authentic Brands Group, because this was a time, my mother always used to tell me, son, make them remember your name. So growing up as a medium-level juvenile delinquent, becoming a basketball star, it was towards the end of my career. And you know, I was doing very well. It was me and my management, we were selling things and making a lot of money, but I wanted it to go on forever. And I realized I needed a big partner behind me to do that. So I met with Sequential Brands. I didn't like what they were talking. Then I met with this guy. It was him and his 4 sons. It was a family business, and he was honest, and he said, we would like to work together, and we've done that, and he's purchased a lot of companies. I made him buy Reebok last year. Called him every day. I was like, I need you to buy Reebok. It's too expensive. I don't give a shit. Buy Reebok. Buy Reebok. Be Reebok. And then on Christmas morning, he said, you know what? Your dream's going to come true. We're going to purchase Reebok. But the answer to your question is I went looking for him because my mother, who I love dearly, she always used to say, make them remember your name. So I want people to remember my name.
So before we got on stage, Jamie handed me this piece of paper. This is...
You don't get
Oh,
no
I
cheat
remember what's
sheets.
on it. Don't worry.
This has been going on now for a while.
Yes.
76 million followers. It's more than that. It's almost 77 million across different social media platforms. You have it broken down by age, by gender, by region and markets. When you were approached by Shaq to build his name, how did you see that as a business opportunity? And frankly, what was the vision?
Well, look, I mean, obviously having Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley and Muhammad Ali, we did understand a little bit about celebrities and legends and icons. What we didn't really totally understand was a living legend, and it would be a little bit more difficult to manage and partner with a living legend because they definitely, they don't take Delta Airlines. So that was the first part that we had to get over. But what was interesting is we've met with a lot of different people like Shaq, and what I can tell you, they're few and far between. And you got to appreciate you're going partners with someone for the rest of their lives. It's sort of like a marriage, okay? Like a marriage. And you get in a room with someone like Shaq. Now, first of all, you've been in a room with him for 10 minutes and you see what goes on. You get a little intimidated, to say the least. And he sat down and I'm all of like 5'5", okay? And I'm looking and staring at this guy. But it went on for really about 4 months. It went back and forth, a lot of conversations, a lot of dinners, and a lot of discussions. And where I came out was, this person is an incredible family guy. And he really does care about the future of his brand, and he really wants to build his brand. He really wants to be a businessman. But most of all, he wants to be a great father and a great family person. And that was incredibly important to me because that told me he's not going to get into trouble because he's really worried about his family all the time.
So we'll talk about...
I wish you would have told me that last night.
We'll talk about trouble. But before that, you were talking about how, a big brand is not going to fly Delta. A big brand will negotiate with you. One thing you did was turn around and say, I'm not letting you take my brand without taking a stake in you.
Wasn't like that. I saw his vision. I saw his family vision. I asked him if I could also become a partner and help him grow his brand.
Buy a stake in his company.
Yes, and he said yes. And you know,
Well, no, it didn't exactly go that way.
all right. I came in with a gun. I was smoking weed. I'm just playing. No, it was just no. It was. So I have people.
Shaq, tell the truth.
I don't know what happened. I wasn't in the room.
I mean, you.
All right, go ahead.
You were in the room.
Where was I?
Yeah, you were in the room. I know you're getting a little older now. You can't remember.
I'm old. Go
Well,
ahead.
I'll tell
the
him what
story.
happened.
Tell the story.
Yeah, please.
The story goes, we negotiated a transaction, and we said, okay, Shaq, we're going to buy 50% of your brand from sort of A to Z. And he said, okay, and we negotiated the price with his people. You're right. You weren't in the room for that. He doesn't like to know about money. He always closes his ears when we tell him how much we're going to get for something. But what happened was we negotiated the deal, and they came back and they said, well, we'd like Shaq to buy part of Authentic Brands. And I said, okay, makes sense. You know, you'll buy 5% or 10% of the money that you're you'll be able to buy X amount of percentage of the company. I didn't think he would come and say to me, well, thank you very much for X amount of money. I'm going to reinvest all of it in Authentic Brands. I said, no. That's not smart, Shaq, because I'm thinking like an investor, you don't want to take all the money we're going to give you and then reinvest it in us. And I'm looking at this 7'4" person. If I screw up on his brand, and then I screw up on my own brand, we're in big trouble. He ended up taking 2/3 of his money that we actually gave him and invested it in Authentic Brands. Well, I want you to know he's made 20x on his investment in our company.
This all goes to say, you know, I've heard you speak about how you've gotten into business before, and one thing you've mentioned throughout time is that you don't just put a monetary investment in, you want a board seat. You want closeness to management. What kind of changes do you look to make in companies? How active do you need to be?
I mean, I'm pretty active. I try not to micromanage. For example, when I was dealing with Papa John's, we all know the debacle that they went through. So when I came on board, I noticed they didn't have any African-American board members. I said, I need to be a board member, and I need to teach you certain things that are allowed and not allowed in our culture. So the first thing, when I went there, they were talking about how much money they were losing. I was like, well, I had to teach them the $20 homeboy rule. You know what that means? Homeboys don't like to break $20. Let me explain. So they were charging $22 for a small pizza. I said, no, the homeboys, if I can get a small pizza for $10, get some chips and get a soda and not have to break that $20, we could change things around. Excuse me. So they did that. They lowered prices, and now we're back on top. So Papa John's on me tonight at lunchtime, free of charge. But I just...
One of the first stories I've heard of a business owner asking a place to lower prices.
Yes, because, you know, they were in trouble, and, you know, you can't use certain terms and then, you know, charge the highest prices. So I made them come in and, you know, tweak some things a little bit, and it's been a great experience. You know, it's my first time being on the board, so I'm really, you know, seeing how things work and operate. But, you know, a lot of times it just takes, you know, common sense, and I'm the common sense guy.
You both have been in sticky situations before. There's a sticky one right now. It's pretty highly in the news. It's widely reported. The licensing agreement you have with Sports Illustrated. Both of you are involved in this, that they hadn't paid you almost $4 million. What's the future of Sports Illustrated and the future of them in relation to you?
So you don't have to worry about Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated is incredibly strong. There's 55 million users on Sports Illustrated a month. Arena Group got new owners, new financial owners. Maybe they're in the room here, I don't know. But new financial owners, and they wanted to renegotiate the agreement with us. We said, we're happy to renegotiate that agreement with you, but we will not renegotiate the financial terms of the agreement. They wanted linear TV. They wanted a bunch of other categories. We said, we're happy to give those categories to you, but of course, we would need more money for those categories because we're in the licensing business, and when you want a category from us, you have to pay us. We're like a landlord, like any other mall owner that is out there. More categories, more land, more royalties. No, I want you to just give that to us for free. We said no. He said, well, then I just won't pay you. I said, then we will breach you. And if you don't pay us after 5 days, we will terminate you. No, you won't. You would never do that. Well, we did it. And we terminated him. I want you to know negotiations have not stopped since that day. He's got a time clock on him of approximately 60 days. So it's business as usual right now, other than we're not getting our payments. And I believe that the negotiations, I would say that we have Muhammad Ali on our side, and we're doing pretty good. I think that that agreement will be in place, and we will end up getting what we bargained for before we started the negotiation.
I'm curious about the power of sports here for a minute, because I think throughout the whole day we'll hear a lot about different licensing agreements and its way into private equity, but also athletes who have made their way into the sports world, bought massive sports brands. What do Sports Illustrated, what does Reebok do for the both of you as businessmen? Reebok is in a very competitive space.
Yes, I was interested in Reebok because when I entered into the NBA, I had a deal with Reebok. We were never number one, but we were a highly respected number two. Very respected, women, men, children. And then we were purchased by Adidas, and they purchased all our contracts, and they kind of, absorbed everything, and Reebok kind of went away, and I begged Jamie to buy it. So we're re-emerging in the space. I'm the president of basketball operations, so I'm oversee, designs and, just getting back in the space. There's a lot of competition, it's a lot of work, but it's a big challenge for me. But, I think it's a wonderful lifestyle brand that people still utilize and respect, and I just want to get us back to where we were.
You think about, yeah, go ahead.
Well, look, Reebok, yes, Shaq called me virtually every single morning for 7 years straight and said, have we bought Reebok yet? And I said, Shaq, we can't afford it. As time went on, we got bigger and bigger, and eventually we could afford it. But what we saw in Reebok is exactly what Shaq said, which was they were sort of losing their luster. But they weren't really losing their luster. Adidas came in 15 years ago, and they bought Reebok. Why did Adidas buy Reebok? People really need to understand why Adidas bought Reebok. Adidas bought Reebok because Reebok was kicking their butt in the United States of America. There was Nike, there was Reebok, and then there was Adidas. So they came into the United States, and they learned and basically took a lot of the know-how out of Reebok to build the Adidas brand. Well, look where Adidas is today. Adidas has done a marvelous job at putting themselves into sport and building a great business, not just around the whole world, but specifically in the United States. So they did it really kind of exactly what they want. They took Reebok out of basketball. They took Reebok out of virtually every single sport, on field and on ice and on court. So what we said was, this is kind of going to be easy because we're going to come, we're going to buy Reebok, and we're going to go right back into everything that Reebok did in the past. So we're dipping back into the archives. We're going back into basketball. We're going back into football. We're going back into soccer. We're going back into on ice, on court. And of course, we've now announced that Shaq is now the president of Reebok basketball with Allen Iverson to bring on sort of the young next generation of star players. And we are going back into basketball in a big way, and that'll be our sort of first sport that we go into. Reebok has grown from $3.6 billion which it was doing when we took it over, to last year we finished just over $5 billion. So literally inside a year and a half, the business is growing tremendously. And our strategic goal is to get the business over the next 5 years to over $10 billion in retail revenue on a global basis.
We talked about a few kind of brands that you own, a few businesses that you guys own together, but when people ask you about the favorite business you own, I've heard you say Elvis Presley at this point.
That's just because he likes to sing.
No, because he's everywhere.
I heard you singing backstage.
No, I don't really sing it anymore. But no, he was everywhere. I mean, like especially like in L.A., like it's in everywhere, every shop. I just got tired of seeing him. But
as you're building
after,
your
studying
empire,
the business, I'm like, I want to be just like this guy.
As you're building your business empire, how do you see it growing over the next 10, 20 years?
Hopefully, positively. We're we're doing great things. We're doing big things. Jamie mentioned earlier that I don't like to hear money because I don't want to base everything strictly off of monetary reasons. Like he'll call me and say, "We're doing this, we're doing that." That's fine, but I've always made investments that's going to change people's lives. I always try to be a positive impact on people, especially the younger generation that look up. So hopefully, if we continue to do things right, I will. My name will go on forever.
When I look at the things that Jamie has traditionally owned and a lot of the assets that you've owned even before Jamie, you've been in a lot of restaurant businesses and franchisees. Which is a better business, the consumer retail business or the business of feeding people every day?
Restaurant business. You know who my biggest customer is?
Who?
Fat ass Charles Barkley. I feed him free every time he go to. I own like 9 restaurants in Vegas. It's like, eat, Charles, just eat. Eat. And if he was there, I would actually say that to his face because I really hate Charles. I just really do.
But I think
Just really do.
Charles, he's not eating as much anymore. He's on Ozempic, I think.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Jamie to say, Shaq, come work with me full time because I'm going to get up and just punch Charles right in his face and then just walk off. I promise you I'm going to do it. One day. So if that happens, you heard it here first.
You're trusting him with your brand. Why?
I'm trusting him with my brand.
Because, again, when I met with him and his sons, I wanted something like that for my family. I have 3 sons. I have 4 daughters. They were negotiating, they were arguing, they were having a good time, and they were a young company, and they allowed me to, be a part of their company so we can grow together. The other company was bragging about what they could do and how much money they can make, and that company is no longer in business. So I think I made the right decision. All of us in here know before you succeed, you must first learn to fail. And I failed many times, and I don't like to sit up here and say I'm the smartest businessman. I've just had a strategy.
You're definitely the tallest.
Yes, I am. And the best looking, because I'm looking at some of these drunk guys in the stands. I saw you last night, brother. I don't know how you made it this morning. You all right? You good? Dancing on tables and stuff. This guy's a maniac. But no, I just want to continue to do business, do great business, make a positive impact on people's life, and just make people smile.
It's interesting. Shaq is not. You have a lot of brands like Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, but also more and more living sports legends. You also have David Beckham's brand under your wing now, too. What's the vision here? And frankly, how do you make it into a business?
Look, it's really a simple formula, right? How do we make money for Shaquille O'Neal's brand while he sleeps, right? Michael Jordan's doing pretty good while he sleeps. So you have to take that same real approach. I mean, yes, there's the endorsement business, which, the nail business, we call that name, image, and likeness. But really what we're trying to create is branded product, right? So today, you can find Shaquille footwear all over the world, whether we're in Poland, whether we're in Turkey, whether we're in China, various markets around the world, America, there's Shaq footwear. Now, not only is there Shaq footwear, there's also, Reebok footwear that Shaq endorses his basketball shoe. So really focusing on the merchandising side of the business is critical to building long-term value in celebrity and athletes brands.
Celebrities, athletes have not always been good at going from being a sports star to investing.
Very few. Very few.
What were maybe your biggest challenges along the way, Shaq?
I didn't really have any challenges, just that growing up, my parents really preached the horror stories. And the stat still stands today. 70 to 75% of all professional athletes, when they're done playing, have nothing. And I didn't know anything about financial literacy. I always tell a story about how I spent $1 million the first day. So the first day I get $1 million, I got to get myself a brand new car. So I'll go get my car, $150, come home. My father said, "Where's mine?" I was like, "You know what? You're right. Go get in my car, go get my mother a car." Then I get a call from the bank manager a couple of days later, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Who the hell is FICA?" Who the hell, like in my mind, I thought I was getting $1 million, but I wasn't thinking about state tax. I wasn't thinking about any of that. So after I made that mistake, remembering the horror stories, I was like, you know what, I have to understand financial literacy. I have to, meet with people that are smarter than me, and I have to take business courses. And I just never wanted to, be that guy. And I was making so much money when I was coming in, I didn't know what to do with it. So, I read a quote one day that said, "The greatest leaders are the ones smart enough to hire people that are smarter than them." So I just surrounded myself by smart people. One of my guys is in here. Jeff, you in here? Jeff, where you at? That's one of my guys right there. He's so smart. So I just, and
Jeff, we will be definitely sending you an invoice.
Yes, we will. So I try to surround myself by smart people, and I didn't want to be part of those, horror stories, because when we grew up, we didn't have anything. I was able to buy my mother a house, my brother and sister's house. I've seen a lot of people do this, and when they don't make the right decisions, they go back to where they were. So I didn't want to go back, so I just, continue to try and do the right thing.
Are there things that you learned from basketball or skills that you took from basketball that you took into the business of investing?
Yes, I realized you can never do anything by yourself. You have to trust in your teammates. So, people like Jeff and Jamie and Corey and Nick, they know a lot more, and, I rely on them to teach me. But, I always just try to stick to my strategy. Like, when I invest, I never want to hear anything monetary. Is it going to change somebody's life forever? And, I've made those investments, and I've been doing very, very well.
Jamie, what do you think, frankly, made you a billionaire at the end of the day?
Me? Me?
That's kind of true.
All the other people are dead. I'm the only one living. I went to he's like, "I know how to manage celebrities." I said, "You know how to manage dead celebrities. I'm here. Aren't I?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here."
But to be fair, you're operating in an industry that's a pretty tough one. It's a lot of big consumer businesses around the world with a lot of competition, a lot of worries about a potential recession. What are your biggest challenges ahead?
Look, it's an interesting business model that we're in, right? We're in the licensing business, right? People, what do you mean you own 50 brands and you do $29 billion in sales and you don't make anything? Well, the truth is we really don't make anything, and our whole business model is about best-in-class partners all over the world, 1,600 partners that we have. And I think, really taking a page out of Shaq's book, which is you don't have to make all the money in one day, number one. Pick your partners carefully and make sure that whichever partners that you pick, that they're good. And I'm not telling you every single partner that we pick is good. We have partners that we've chosen that sometimes, are not the best partners. But we've built this business model which is very similar to the real estate business, where you basically pick the partner, you collect a royalty on their revenue, you're giving them obviously the know-how, right? Here's the marketing plan, here's the tech packs, the sourcing codes, the designs of what it takes to make the product, and your margins in this business are roughly 75%, EBITDA margins. And what I could say to everyone in the audience, there's not a lot of businesses in the world where you're making 75 cents of every dollar that you bring in. So we've built this incredible mousetrap. And as technology has gotten better and better and better, it's actually gotten easier and easier to sort of run this business model. And the world is sort of changing. And the reason I'm saying the world is changing, because the costs of running a company today are so high in the consumer business, really they need that long margin. So we have become sort of the go-to, if I can get Reebok in China, or I can get Reebok in Korea, or I can get Reebok, in Brazil or Panama or Mexico or Turkey and virtually all over the world, and I can make a long margin by licensing that brand from the owner, and I can make 20 points more, because that's really what it is. It's 15 to 20 points more of margin for the retailer. And if they can make 15 to 20% more, that's the difference of making money and losing money in the consumer space today.
Do you guys feel like you're competing with private equity? Do you think you can do it better than private equity can?
We are beating private equity today. Private equity invests in us because they cannot replicate this model. There's private equity firms that are trying to replicate this model, and yes, there is lookalike authentic companies out there. They are much, much, much smaller than us. If somebody wants to get into this business today, they're going to have to spend, to be the size of us, they'll have to spend $300-400 million, a year just in operations, and then go find the people to actually run this business. This is not sort of a normal business, right? We're sort of one-on-one. So finding the people that really understand how to run this business is not so easy. And I would love to say they could go and sort of, go to Authentic and try to hire everyone at Authentic, but their stock options are worth so much now that trying to poach people even out of our company has become incredibly difficult, because, you'd have to write them a phone number to get them to come work for you.
Now we have a couple minutes left before I let you go. We had kind of this conversation about how you've been begging Jamie to buy, or bugging him rather, to buy Reebok. What's a business you don't own now that you want?
I know what he wants.
What?
We can't tell them.
Say it.
We just can't.
Yeah, you're right.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yep.
The journalist in me is like,
Can't tell you.
By the way, if you didn't wake up at 4 and you didn't go to bed at 4,
Don't tell them my secrets, brother.
okay, fine. If not a business, are you going to be an owner of an NBA team soon again?
I would like to. I would
Yes.
definitely like to.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Yes, I would definitely like to.
What team?
Whatever team is available.
Is that the only sport that you want to invest in a team in?
Yes. Because
No, you like F1 too a little bit.
Yeah, I like F1, even though I can't fit in none of the damn cars. But I like F1.
Guys, thank you so much
All
for
right,
your
thank you.
time. It's been so great to have
Appreciate
you
you.
today.